So, Abhijit, I don't know how much you remember, but when CJP went viral, I had done an interview with you. I was on the first.
I was in US.
Yes, you were at the US at that point of time. So it's been almost a month since then, and obviously a lot has changed.
Yeah.
That was the time I remember asking you a question. What is the plan? Like, where to forward from here? And you're like, I will take it one step at a time. So now I'm going to ask you that same question again. Now that you've had a few protests, you are sustaining a protest for almost 5 days, and now you also have an agenda. So what is the plan?
We are still taking one step at a time, and the current step is the resignation of the education minister to seek accountability, to seek justice for all those students who have committed suicide.
Do you think sitting at a protest right here, albeit sustaining it for 4 days, beyond all the permissions, all of it, and also seeing a decent turnout, like you have people coming and going constantly, do you think just doing this is enough, or do you think more needs to be done from your end?
I think what happening here is currently is really phenomenal. What we have seen in last 10, 12 years, people were afraid even to speak up against the government. They were even afraid to ask questions even on social media. And what we are witnessing today, people are coming out on the streets. They're coming out in thousands at Jantar Mantar, demanding accountability from the government, asking uncomfortable questions to the government. So I feel that is the biggest achievement of the CJP, that they have they have got rid of the fear from the people's mind. Now the people are fearless. I think that is the biggest psychological change that we have managed to achieve.
So far you haven't elicited any kind of reaction from the government. What do you think, like what can you do to kind of get a reaction out of them? What can you do to actually drive change? Because asking uncomfortable questions is definitely a start. Getting people here is definitely a start. Where to from here?
I think I don't want to get a reaction out of the government. What I want is justice, and the justice is the resignation of the education minister. And I totally agree with you that they have not taken note of our protest officially, but what they have been doing unofficially. They have stopped our water. They were stopping water bottles at the barricades. They were stopping food at the barricades. The washrooms that you can see here, the water supply has been cut off. Now this is how the government is trying to, trying to drain us out. They are trying to break down our morale. And they are thinking that maybe after a few days this movement will disperse if we don't get water, if we don't get food, if we don't get to use the washrooms. But these people have shown that, they have proven that despite all the hardship, that despite all the effort that the government is doing to suppress this movement, people are still coming to Jantar Mantar and taking this movement forward.
How do you plan to keep the people here motivated beyond a certain amount of time? Because as the more time passes, it also becomes as somebody who's been sitting on the stage, who's been leading these protests. Okay, it also takes a lot of determination to keep at it. So how do you plan to do that?
We are pretty much determined, and we need to remember, even if the government ignores you, remember the farmers' movement, remember the farmers' protests. The farmers of this country had to sit on the roads for 1 year. But after 1 year, the government had to listen to the farmers, and they had to roll back all those anti-farm laws. So the farmers of this country has shown us the way, that if the government is not listening to you, if the government is adamant, you have to become more adamant. And we are going to be more adamant. We are going to be here as long as possible, and we are going to be here until they listen to us. They will have to listen to us. They can ignore us for now, but they can no longer ignore the youth of this country, which is turning against this government.
Yesterday there was a change in your speech where you said that if the education minister doesn't resign, or the prime minister doesn't sack the education minister, then the prime minister must resign. So why this change in tone?
I mean, the education minister reports to the prime minister, right? He is the head of the government. So if the education minister is not resigning even after 16 deaths of students, that means he is being protected by the prime minister. Now the prime minister has to decide whether he stands with the victim's family, whether he stands with the students, or one incompetent education minister who has absolutely failed to conduct even one exam properly. The bucks now stop at the prime minister. He has to take a call, he has to make a decision, he has to choose whether he is with the students, whether he is with the youth, or whether he is with one incompetent minister.
This is a movement that you're starting. Okay, it is definitely political in nature. Do you think that you can sustain this movement for the next 3 years up until the next general elections, and convince voters
I think it would be too early to comment on that, as you know that it has just been a month and it has just been 2 weeks since I have returned to India. So there is still a lot of work to do, and I still have to visit so many places. I'm being invited from like people are inviting me to Bihar, to MP, and to various other states of India. I need to go there as well and listen to all those people and listen to their concerns, listen to their aspirations. Because the biggest complaint of these people is that the government, or be it any other political party, they are not listening to these people. And I think once I listen to them, once we sit together, we have a dialogue, we'll be able to understand how to take this movement forward. And I'm pretty sure going forward, it's not whether we are going to contest elections or not. That's not the point. It's about can we change the political discourse of the country. And I believe that this movement has the potential to change the political discourse of this country.
So far, like one of the things that I've been listening to all your speeches so far, and it has mostly centered around the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan, right? But like here, like even all the people who've spoken, not just you, whoever has taken the podium, taken the dais, and whoever has spoken, nobody is also not talking about the systemic issue that the problem in the education system as a whole, and the larger problem, the root and the solution of it. Why do you think that is something that is not being tackled from this stage?
No, you need to understand. How can we expect the government to fix the system? How can we expect the system can get fixed when the person who has failed to do his job is still on his position? If we manage to get Dharmendra Pradhan sacked, that will send a strong message that if any minister is, some way is involved in a paper leak, or is any minister fails to do his job, he will have to lose his seat, he will have to lose his ministry. That fear needs to be there among all the people who are sitting in the government. And once that fear gets into the minds of the people who are sitting in power, then you will see how systematic changes will happen. It's the absence of that fear. Now these people are taking us for granted. These people are taking the youth for granted. That needs to change. And once that changes, the system will improve. And we will prepare a vision on that as well. We are working on that. We are working with many policymakers, with many educationists, and we are going to propose few things. But first, we need to know, does the education minister is ready to accept his mistake, and whether he steps down. We want him to step down, because if he doesn't step down, how can we expect that the system can be improved?
So, just a hypothetical scenario. Say, like you sustain this protest, maybe like for a month, and even then Dharmendra Pradhan, the minister, doesn't resign. So, what do you plan to do then? Do you still plan to keep at it, do what you're doing, or do you plan to do something more?
No, we'll keep continuing protesting against the education minister.
From starting till now, you've interacted with a lot of people. You've shared the stage with a lot of people. What have you learned?
So yeah, it was a really overwhelming experience, to be honest, because the day I landed in India and I came to Jantar Mantar, you might have seen that we were not organized at all. I just came here. I did not expect so many people to gather here, but they did, and they sent out a strong message that the youth of this country has awakened. After that, I went to Pune, I went to Nagpur, I went to Jaipur, I went to Amritsar, I even went to Bangalore. And all of the people, one thing is common. All of these people are saying that the government is taking us for granted. The government is no longer accountable to the people, and that needs to be changed. This is one common line that I have been hearing in various states, various cities, that this government no longer caters to the citizen. All they care about is their power and their some businessmen friends, and controlling the narrative through media. And the people are really frustrated about that, and they want to change that. Accountability is something that is common across all states and all cities that I have heard from the people.
Yesterday, I was writing an article about you that 2 weeks apart, two protests in Delhi, and I have seen two very different versions of Abhijit Deepke. One where the first one is who's just grasping the situation, and on Saturday I saw somebody who's learned the art of working a crowd. So how has that transformation been?
It has been a great learning phase for me, and it has also been a very humbling experience for me, because the more I'm interacting with the people, they are trying to give me constructive feedbacks. They are trying to tell me how I can improve on certain things, how I can improve on managing things, how I can improve on strategizing how to take this movement forward. So it has been a really humbling experience. When I was in Boston, I was thinking maybe yes, I can say certain things, I can put out my opinion, and that would be it. But getting on the ground had taught me many things. The first thing getting on the ground has taught me is it's very necessary to listen to the people. If you don't listen to the people, if you just try to dictate them, if you just try to give them orders, you can't succeed. if you really want to make it a people's movement, you got to take the people together with you. You got to listen to them. You got to meet them where they are at. You cannot talk them down. And I think that is what something I have learned. So I'm trying to listen to as many people as possible. Every single morning I'm going out, trying to greet everyone, trying to meet everyone, trying to ask them if they had had breakfast or not. This is just a gesture to show that I acknowledge their presence. And I thank them for being here, because without them this movement wouldn't have been successful. Because who was I a month ago? I was a nobody. I'm still a nobody. Whatever we are being able to do is because of these people who have got together with a common goal that we have to change the system of this country and we have to bring back accountability, because without accountability there is no meaning to democracy.
You've been nothing short of a celebrity figure here, where everybody's out here wanting to take selfies with you. You know, you're playing with them, they're cheering you on and everything. Have you been feeling the weight of it? Because again, like with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies, Spider-Man, of course. I think it's more challenging for me because I'm a really introvert person. If you would check my Instagram from a month ago, I didn't had ever posted my own face on Instagram or any other social media platform. So it's very, a very big change for me to get clicked every single time. So that is something I'm trying to learn, trying to get used to, because these people want to get clicked out of love. And I'm nobody to stop them. I shouldn't be stopping them, because they are taking great efforts to be here. People are traveling from across the country to be here. And I don't want to be rude and I don't want to be, dismissive. So whatever they need from me, I will give it to them, because they are taking great efforts to be here and to make this movement successful. I'm just sitting on the stage, but the people who are there across these barricades, they are the real heroes. Every one of them, every single person of them is a hero today, is an inspiration, because if they can come out, that will send a strong message to the entire country. They can also come out.
But does the thought cross your mind that what if I let them down? Like,
Yeah, it did. I mean, when I was in Boston, so I was contemplating, do I have to go back or do I have to stay in the US? And the way I saw the support growing online, and the more I interacted with the people, the more tried to tell me, you got to take this movement forward. You got to take this movement forward. And I used to ask them, by taking it forward, what do you mean? And they meant they don't want it to be limited on social media. So there were 3 nights where I couldn't sleep, because I had to make a decision. Do I have to stay in the US or do I have to come back to India? That was a big decision. That was a life-changing decision for me. And I couldn't sleep for 3 nights, because I had to think. The first thing that was in my mind, that if I come back to India, I might be arrested. And it was just not about me, because if I get arrested, my family is also involved in that, and my responsibility is also towards them. So I was thinking a lot in those 3 days, and during that time, somewhere I felt that if I don't go back to India, I'll be a coward. If I don't stand up to the hopes of these people, if I don't stand up to the expectations, I'll be coward, and I won't be able to face myself ever in the life. And I don't want to be called as a coward. I'm not expecting that this movement will be a huge success. I'm not a delusional person. I've worked in politics before. I know nothing is permanent. Today I'm getting the attention. Today this movement is getting the attention. Tomorrow it might not. So I'm not delusional that we would be able to change the system. We would be able to fix the system just like that. That does not happen. Changes takes years and decades. But what I felt is that I shouldn't go down without trying. Even if I fail, I'm ready to fail. But I will go down while trying. I don't want to go down without trying. So that is what I decided, and that is why I came back to India. It was a big decision for me, because I can't go back to US now, because if I go back, I'll be called a pagoda, I'll be called a coward. And in today's politics, when people are switching parties, when people are threatened by CBI and ED, and they are made to switch parties, I don't want to be that person, because somebody needs to take a stand. And if we don't take a stand, how can we expect other people to take a stand?
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Abhijit.
Thank you.
Thank you.